My name is George Perez. I happen to be the banking commissioner for the state of Connecticut. I've been the commissioner now for about 8.5 years, and I'm going to be your MC for today. And okay, I'm going to try to speak more into the mic. For those who were not able to hear me, that's too loud. My name is George Perez. I'm the banking commissioner for the state of Connecticut. I've been the commissioner for 8.5 years, and I've been asked to be the MC for this morning's activity. And the first person, and first of all, I want to thank everybody for being here. And throughout the event, I'm going to thank some specific people. But we would not be here today if it wasn't for the leadership of the governor and the help of a lot of people that you're going to hear in a few minutes. And one of those persons is my state rep and the state rep of this area, Representative Liz Monahan. Nobody called you.
Oh, that's awesome. See, I didn't realize I was his representative, so now I'm a little nervous. I am so happy to have everyone here. This is a really big deal. I'd like to first say thank you to our governor, because this is an amazing bill that he's signing here today, and it really has to do with a lot of all of you. And as many of you might know, because I've talked about this often, is that my father is living with dementia, and he is the target of scams all the time. And I'd love to tell you he's never fallen prey, but that's just not true. So what this bill does, among other things, is actually allows the banks to stop payment if they think that someone is being scammed. This is a really big deal, and it's to protect you. And the fact that our governor wanted to sign this bill right here today for everyone to see. Governor, it shows your commitment to these fine, lovely people and all of the senior citizens around the state of Connecticut that we're promoting the fantastic legislation that we put forth to help you guys. So we have a lot of people to get through, so I'm going to keep this very brief. I just want to say to everyone, I put together a booklet that we're going to be passing out and make it available to all of you, but it is how to fight back from scams and to avoid being scammed. Myself, Representative Zupkis, and the rest of the Cheshire delegation put this together to ensure that you have everything you need to fight back. So the state is doing our part, and we're arming you with the ability to do the same. So thank you all for being here. Welcome to everyone coming to Cheshire. Thank you so very much, and I look forward to speaking to you.
Thank you. This is a bill that we try to get passed for 5 years. So it did take a village to get it passed. And the next speaker is someone who's not in the banking committee or the aging committee, but was a strong supporter and an advocate for all of us, and the seniors in particular. So I will ask Representative Zupkis to come forward and say a few words.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. How exciting. It's so great to have legislation that does something for all of you and really makes a difference. I'll just tell you, my husband's aunt was totally scammed. This was a few years ago. They called, said, we had your grandchildren. I'm sure maybe some of you have heard that before. She went to the bank literally to take out money, $100,000. And thank goodness for the bank to call her daughter and say, you need to get down here and help. So this is all real. You know it's real. It happens. And we're just thrilled that we can do something. So thank you, Governor, for signing it here today. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not seeing him, but I don't want to make the mistake that if he's out there, is Senator Simpson here today? Okay. Then it's my pleasure to ask Sean Kimball, the town manager. It is my understanding that he was representing the mayor, or if the mayor's here, he could come up. Sean.
Well, thank you very much. I'll be very brief. My job was just to welcome you all to Cheshire. So thank you all for being here. Thank you so much, Governor, for signing this important legislation here in Cheshire. It's really important to all of our seniors in this community and all of us in this community, because we all have friends and relatives, as Leslie just said, who have been affected by this. So thank you very much, and thank you to Elam Park and Brian Bedard for hosting here today. And so thank you, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
speakers, you're going to have to speak a little closer to the mic because there's some people in the back that can't hear. And the only way they can hear is if you almost touch the mic. You don't have to touch it, but you got to get closer. Before I go on to the next speaker, I do want to introduce some members of my staff that are here. Matt Smith, raise your hand because you're going to be a very popular person in this building. And I'll explain why in a minute, in a second. And then Denzel Palmer. Denzel is the division director for all banks and credit unions, so his areas will be the one implementing this law. Matt handles community affairs and government affairs and a couple other things with the department. But one of the things that he does is he handles education for seniors in particular, not only seniors, but seniors. And we do have a lot of different programs that is free of charge that we can bring out and talk to people about this bill or talk about other issues like grandparents, fraud, and other items. And we could simply talk about literacy, financial literacy education. So I have given Matt's number and name to different people at the center here, so I'm sure you're going to see him and his staff in a future date. To us, this bill is very critical because many times when the Department of Banking gets involved is after the fact, after the crime already happened. And sometimes we get lucky and we're able to recover the money. Sometimes due to some really hard work, we're able to recover the money. But to be honest, most of the time, no matter how hard we work, by the time we get involved, the money is gone. So this bill is to prevent the crime to happen in the first place. And the goal will be when several red flags are raised, things that are not normal, it will give the banks, credit unions, and other financial institutions, brokers, securities companies, the ability to freeze your funds for a particular number of days and give them a chance to call your personal contact and all the department or agent or us for help and assistance to make sure that you can use your money for good things and what you want to use it for, but not to be frauded. Because not only will you lose your money, but in many cases people lose their self-esteem and it impacts people emotionally big time. So what this will do is give financial institutions an opportunity to be able to freeze your money for a short period of time. They will have to go through some serious training, which will be conducted by my department. And the specific employees that are going to be allowed to do this will have to go to those training and get certified. So this is not going to be done willy-nilly. You want to make sure you're able to have access to your money for legitimate purposes. But in those cases where it's not normal, like for instance, it's normal for you to come in every day to check, not every day, every month to check to see if your Social Security check came in, that's fine. It's normal that you take money out to pay your utility bill, that's fine. But it's not normal for you to take out $20,000 or $100,000 to send to some person building a church in somewhere. That's when the red flags will go up. And hopefully some investigation will happen, and if it's legit, you'll be able to do it. If it's not, we save you some money and headaches. Without further ado, I'd now like to ask Representative Dossett, who's the co-chair of the Banking Committee, which is the committee that took the lead on this, and who's, without his leadership, and the leadership of his co-chair, and the speaker after him, which I'll introduce in a second, this bill would not have passed. So, Representative Dossett, can you please come forward?
Thank you all for having me down here. This is a beautiful facility, and thank you to the governor for being here for this bill signing to highlight this important bill and some of the important work that we do on the Banking Committee. I tell my colleagues that the Banking Committee is actually the best committee in the legislature. And the reason for that is because it's bipartisan and that we are effective in getting our work done. And we fly under the radar sometimes. Some of the more exciting things that you hear about, controversial things you hear about, originate in other committees. My colleagues know that. But the work that we do is so important, and the work that we do is focused on consumer protection, and this bill is a perfect example of that. This bill, as the Commissioner alluded to, was many years in progress, and I don't want to take credit for it. There were so many people involved in this. Some of them are here today. AARP was very involved. the Connecticut Bankers Association and all the banks, the credit unions as well. The elder law attorneys were also involved in some of the nuts and bolts of putting this together. I'm probably forgetting a few people. I want to thank my co-chair who couldn't be here today, Senator Patricia Billy Miller from Stanford. She also co-chaired the Aging Committee for a while she was co-chairing the Banking Committee, so she saw this from both ends. But this bill is so critical. What does this bill do? The Commissioner outlined it a little bit. I just want to hit a couple of highlights. As the Commissioner mentioned, this bill gives banks and financial advisors, broker-dealers, the ability to put a pause on a transaction that is clearly suspicious, or that they have a reasonable belief that it is a suspicious transaction. And what is that? The Commissioner alluded to this. And there was a perfect example of this that was on 60 Minutes a couple of months ago. Actually, it was a few days before we went on the House floor to bring this bill out. And that is what is referred to as the Internet grandparent scam. So you get an email, or you may get a call even too. And what was weird about this 60 Minutes is that with AI, artificial intelligence, and spoofing, you can actually produce someone's voice to sound over the phone like you're actually talking to somebody you know, a grandchild or something. And the thing that was shown on 60 Minutes was the grandparent getting a call from their granddaughter. Help, Grandma, I'm in jail. I need money. The only way that I can get out is if you go to the bank, withdraw $20,000 cash, put it in a brown paper bag, and leave it on your doorstep. Someone's going to come to the door, ring the doorbell. You'll know that they're there. It's a courier. And it's amazing how many people have fallen for this. This is happening every day. So that's the type of thing that this bill is designed to prevent against. It gives the financial institutions the ability to put a pause on those transactions. And there's all kinds of checks and balances built into it too. We had years of discussion at the table with the elder law attorneys, the probate court, about a process whereby, okay, we need checks and balances to determine, we want you to have access to your money to be able to live your lives in everyday financial transactions. But we also want to protect people when we suspect that there's something bad happening. So again, thank you for having us down. Thank you to everybody here. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce my ranking member on the Banking Committee, my neighbor from South Windsor, Representative Tom Delmicky.
Well, this is a great day in Connecticut. We have done something very special here. We have given and created some guardrails and the ability to chase the bottom feeders away. Because when you think about a senior, and quite frankly, I'm a senior, so when you think about a senior that cannot get access to their money because of a scammer, what the good chair alluded to a moment ago, some of the scams out there, a trusted contact person. Somebody that can step in and say, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. That ability is so key and critical. And when you think about the folks that are assembled here today, we have virtually so many representatives here. And when we work in a bipartisan fashion, and I'm proud of the work that we do on the Banking Committee, because it is all bipartisan. When we all work together, when we all go and move in the right direction, and when we all focus on the goal of getting something done to protect and help people, it's a good day in Connecticut. And I'm proud of the work that we've done on the Banking Committee, and we will continue to do on the Banking Committee. With all due respect, that is my favorite committee that I sit on, because of the fact that we have accomplished so much. And to my good friends from AARP, thank you for all the work that you did in helping us get that ball across the goal line for the touchdown that we're celebrating today. So again, thank you to everybody here, and I look forward to the bill signing. Thank you all.
Thank you both gentlemen for all that you did to get us to this point. Now it's my pleasure to ask one of my colleagues, another commissioner, the Commissioner of Aging, Commissioner Porter, to come forward to say a few words and then to introduce the member from the Aging Committee, that's Clement Paul.
Thank you so much. Again, my name is Amy Porter. I'm the Commissioner for Aging and Disability Services, and I am thrilled to be here with all of you today. I'm grateful for the commitment to older adults and to people with disabilities by Governor Lamont, by members of his administration, as you can see here from our banking commissioner and his staff, and from the legislature, who have been tremendous partners with us. As you heard, this legislation took 5 years. That can happen. There's a great idea, and then there's a process to get it through, and I applaud the efforts to make sure that this bill did pass the finish line. So the legislation that we're celebrating today, it's one of many examples of the efforts to strengthen our support system. The one thing I love about the bill is it doesn't take your independence away. It gives you some new tools. It gives your banks the ability to contact you or to contact someone that you've said, this is the person I want them to talk to, just to make sure we're dealing with these scammers who are so smart. They're targeting all of us every day, and they're getting smarter every day and finding ways to trick us. That's what they spend their time doing. So this bill gives you more tools without taking your independence away, which is great. For us, it offers a new layer of fraud protection for our already existing efforts that the state is working on, that our incredible partners are working on. As an example, we have the Senior Medicare Patrol in Aging and Disability Services. We operate that with our area agencies on aging and with a whole host of incredibly trained and dedicated volunteers. So this bill really gives them a new tool in their toolbox, gives them some new partners, and helps to really bring the work by adding an extra layer of protection, bringing in willing community partners who are saying, what can we do to combat this together, and really strengthening our community response to fraud and exploitation. So we look forward to our continued work with all of the partners that are here today. It is my pleasure to introduce Representative Mitch Belinsky, who's here as the ranking member for the legislature's Aging Committee, who I think might have a few things to say about what committee is the best committee. But I'll leave that to him. So, Representative Belinsky.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. It's an honor to stand with the governor in this celebration. And I won't repeat a lot of what has been said, except to say that the Aging Committee itself, we have also been percolating bills to create this financial safety net for years, but the expertise that existed in the Banking Committee and then running it through the Judiciary Committee to make sure that we were within the legal guardrails was incredibly important. So my most sincere thanks to the leadership and the membership of those two committees, particularly the Banking Committee. Thank you very much. I am also, like Representative Delnicki, a senior. Actually, I will be 65 in about 5 weeks. And just went through the process of signing up for Medicare. But that aside, I have been the trusted person. I have been a person that was in charge of my parents' finances for about 5 years. And I personally unraveled a lot of these things. This bill will make the early warning system that we so badly need available to all of you. And when I say all of you, I don't have to pick out the folks that are like me, a senior, because we're all going to get there at some point. This is a critical, important bill. The Aging Committee, like the Banking Committee, is totally bipartisan. We work together for you, We don't work for ourselves. We're not about who gets the credit. We are all about you, and that's it. Exploitation, whether it be financial, physical, emotional, not acceptable in this world anymore. Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to speak, and thank you so much to the people that made this bill possible, because it's been so badly, badly needed. Thank you very much.
Like it's been stated before, to get to this point took teamwork. And a lot of different people worked together to make today happen. Like other attorneys, like the Connecticut Bankers Association, like the Credit Union League, and others. But one, like in everything else in life, that was there from day one, probably before we even had a dream about this, pointing out to advocating for seniors, and pointing out that we needed to do something, and who, in my opinion, without the support, would not be here today. It might have taken us a couple more years, is AARP. And speaking for, and on behalf of all those advocates and all those people that help us get here today, who are not elected officials, I will have John, I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, to come forward and say a few words.
Thank you, Commissioner Perez. And that's John Erlinghauser. And I said I was wondering if he was going to take a stab at it. But I really am appreciative to be here on behalf of the AARP in Connecticut. We have a long history of fighting for protections against financial exploitation and other forms of exploitation of older and vulnerable populations in Connecticut and around the world. We are a organizing member of the Elder Justice Coalition here in Connecticut, and we have our Fraud Watch Network, and a couple of our fraud volunteers are here who work on fighting fraud in partnership with the Department of Banks and other organizations throughout the state, because this stuff is really, people have no idea how bad this is. Older Americans and residents here in Connecticut are affected by financial fraud by a higher percentage than any other segment of the population. So while seniors represent about 12% of the population of the state of Connecticut, they're victims of about 30% of the fraud, particularly when it comes to financial crimes. And so, and frankly, the biggest segment of the elderly population that is affected are women, senior women. So this is why this has always been an issue for AARP in Connecticut. And I'm not going to talk about this bill because I think everybody's done a good job about what the bill has done. But I will just say a few things. First of all, on behalf of our 600,000 members in Connecticut, I just want to start by thanking our volunteers who worked very hard because they know firsthand the impact of this legislation will have and the problem that existed, because they're out there on the front lines with our Fraud Watch Network and doing things on a daily basis to prevent it. But I want to thank Governor Lamont, because it was he and his team's leadership, led by Commissioner Perez, who I want to thank, that got this over the finish line. And then, as everybody said, this was really amazing to have. It took 5 years, but it was worth every bit of time. Great bipartisan effort with Chair Doucette and Senator Miller, Chair Miller from Stanford, as well as ranking members Delnicki and Senator Berthel. And then certainly the Aging Committee with Representative Belisky. We wouldn't be able to get half the things we do done if it weren't for the Aging Committee in the legislature. So I really do appreciate it. And I don't want to say too much more because I'm anxious to see this signed. 5 years was a long time, and I'm not a patient man, but I do appreciate all the work that everybody did on this.
Thank you, John. Now it's my pleasure to ask Brian Bethar, President and CEO of this facility, to come forward. He's also going to then introduce David and a couple of residents, and then turn it back to me, and there'll be one more speaker after that.
Thank you. On behalf of my entire team and our residents, welcome to this vibrant home that we call Elam Park. Governor, it is our distinct honor and such a privilege to welcome you here. And I just feel like behind me that I have got this army of advocates that are here to protect all of you. And this is just a great day to illustrate the success of what happens when we work together. So thank you for your work. And I never thought that I'd actually have this moment, but I'm going to seize it and take just a step back. COVID was such an awful time for all of us, but for our population, it was really life and death. Governor, we never felt that you were on the left side or the right side, but that you were on our side. And I really appreciate that. Your leadership, in concert with the brave dedication of the people that showed up and worked so hard, and the abundance of prayers, it saved lives. And for me to look out into this room, and for Governor, for you to be able to see and look out in this room and know that there's people here because of your leadership, thank you. And this bill, it's personal for me. This has happened in my own family. We've had a person call on behalf of grandkids saying they really need help, asking to go to the bank and take money. And I get those calls with Rob and some members of my team from residents, and it's usually after the fact. And so this legislation will help protect the resources of the people that deserve to be protected. It's also an illustration of what this country needs right now more than ever, to replace division with a common ground. This bipartisan legislation will protect elders. See, at Elam Park, we've got pottery professionals, artists, lawyers, evangelical preachers, rocket scientists, yes, rocket scientists, grandmothers and grandfathers, people that have worked a lifetime to contribute. And as a result, our lives are better. The signing of this bill protects the pillars of our society, and it sends a very strong message to those that prey on the most respected members of society, not in our state. So thank you again for your leadership and for coming together to work together to make a difference for all the people in this room. And now it is again my privilege to introduce David McNeil and Barbara Swenson. David is the former CEO and president of Elam Park, so in many ways he is my boss. And it is a privilege to welcome you to the podium.
Being CEO is just a matter of just doing what you're told and finding out what people want and giving it to them. So it's pretty easy for me, but can't wait to hear what I'm going to say now. Excuse me, I had to have some notes. Afraid of forgetting things as I get older. Most people don't realize how hard our legislators work in Hartford. I remember when I started working here in the late 70s, going into Hartford to talk about a particular bill, and no matter what time I get there, early morning or even in the evening, it was always welcoming. People wanted to hear what I had to say, how things are going to affect people that lived at Elam Park. I always appreciated that. These people in Hartford work long hours for little reward except the satisfaction of doing something for the people of Connecticut. And that is a big reward for them. So I applaud their hard work in crafting this bill that Governor Lamont is about to sign. And it's, I think it's going to be a blueprint for what could happen in Washington, maybe similar legislation that will protect all of American elderly. So as all you all know, I love Elam Park. I was privileged to be part of the team that crafted the original legislation for continuing care retirement communities in Connecticut, and shortly after that we became the first nationally accredited CCRC. So I just love the people here. I love Elam Park, and this organization's been here for almost 120 years now. And Elam Park is a nonprofit that provides a safe, secure, happy lifestyle for people. And I thank them, and I want to introduce Barbara Swenson.
Good morning, Governor, dignitaries, fellow residents. everyone who I'm looking out at. Just like to quickly say that I taught school for 40 years, and a classroom full of 30 11-year-olds was much less intimidating than this. But what I wanted to say this morning is this. About 20 years ago, my parents lived in a retirement community in Connecticut, not this one. And my brother took my dad to their local bank one day to do something very simple, make a deposit. And as they were approaching the teller, my brother said, "Oh, by the way, I'd like to have the names on my father's checking account changed to mine," not me, to my brother's. And because we think my father is not sound of mind. And the teller, who was a very bright young woman, said, "Well, I need to speak to the bank manager." So she called the bank manager over and she said, "Sorry, this is not going to work. Your father was in here about a week ago saying that this should not happen. Do not let anyone change the names on my checking account." So that particular plan was completely foiled, and the bank received a citation for that. Now, that's 20 years ago, before there was Connecticut legislation, and the bank was savvy enough, the teller and the bank manager, this just did not sound right. I also saw the show with the AI, thinking, we have, teenage grandchildren. If they were to call and say, Grandma and Granddad, we need $5,000 because they're going to send me to jail. Well, yeah, and then one of the women said, "Well, so I finally called my child." She said, "No, I'm at the gym." So, those kinds of things really should not happen. But for me and my husband to know that these are legislations that are not only important and valuable to all of us, but in place, makes us feel very much more secure than we already are here. We also love it here. It's a wonderful move. We lived in New York for 50 years. People said, "You retired to Connecticut?" Yep, we found a place that was just right for us. So anyway, I'm happy to be among the group that is here. Thank you, Governor and dignitaries, cameramen, women. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
And it's now my pleasure to introduce the governor. But before I have him come over and say a few words, I want you to all to understand one thing. I admire working for the governor because he's one of those few people that walks the talk. Not only does he come and say, "I'm going to do something about it," and he promises you, but he then goes and follows up. When I first started, I didn't have as many gray hair as I do now, and that's because he makes a lot of promises and then he calls us into the room and makes it happen. But it's under his leadership, and if you look at the record, this is only one of many things that he's done in his administration under his leadership to help seniors. Everything from more funding for centers like this, for reducing the tax burden on retirement, and other efforts that he's done. So this is a true advocate for seniors. And when we our office approached his people and his staff, well, I'm part of his staff, the governor's staff, the immediate governor's staff, and him on this idea, he did not hesitate to say this is a good idea and we need to protect seniors. So without any further ado, our governor, Ned Lamont.
Yeah, we got it done. We got it done together, George. We got it done with my two favorite committees, banking and aging, on a bipartisan basis. And before we talk about financial fraud, this place is amazing. Can I just tell you, I love this place. It's gorgeous. I feel like I'm turning the clock back. I feel like I'm in college. You're still at UConn, I see. A lot of folks here looking out for you and care about you, and I'm really glad you're calling Connecticut home. And just hearing these stories, you can see why we all care so deeply about this, because we've all been personally touched by financial fraud in our own ways. I mean, I remember my mother-in-law, she got a solicitation every 3 days to contribute $25 to save the whales, and all of a sudden it was $25 a month, and I was there trying to figure out how to disconnect that. And fast forward about 10 years, I thought I was ordering razor blades on Amazon, but I ended up getting a lifetime supply of razor blades every month for my kids had to come and disconnect me.
My wife was, there she got the call, and, runs her business. And they called and said, I'm sorry to hear you've been laid off. This is about your unemployment claim. And she said, excuse me? There's been no layoffs. And, we've had $3.8 billion in unemployment, false, fake unemployment claims that we've been able to stop. I hope that's all of them, but we'll find out. And you know what's going on? Why did Willie Sutton say we rob banks? That's where the money is. Well, today the bank is online. At least you access that money online. And a lot of these crimes are coming at you online. And there you've got to be incredibly careful. And thanks to this bill, you've got the banks and others looking out for you as well. And these type of crimes are only going to increase. And having that trusted person there that you have as a backup so they can call and double check what's happening, that's one of the most important things. Giving the banks the discretion to put a pause on somebody who's coming in with your credit card number. By the way, don't give out your credit card number. Just don't do that. And by the way, if they say anything about hand out gift cards, run for the hills, because those are often a telltale signs of fraud that's out there. But we're doing everything we can through a bill like this on a really bipartisan basis. Do everything we can to protect you. Work with your your families to work together. Work with the people right here at Aaron Park. They'll be looking out for you. And I wish I could just leave you with good news, since it's a beautiful day in August, but I worry this is going to get worse before it gets better. You heard the stories about artificial intelligence, and, pretty soon it's going to be your daughter's voice on the phone, not simply some fish online. And you're going to have to be very careful. And we're doing everything we can to give you the tools to protect your resources, because there are a lot of Willie Suttons out there going to get at you, but we're not going to let it happen. Thanks, everybody. Love being here. Let's sign the bill.
So, if I can have Matt, Denso, and anybody else with the group here, state representatives, elected officials, if you all could line behind the governor, we will watch him sign the bill. And you get your pen.
All right, everybody, we got it done.